There was no reason to think that I would ever get an acting job after SNL. Somehow, out of nowhere, this Nebraska opportunity came, and that changed everything. That was a real life changer. I mean, people would say, "Oh, it needs to have heart," and you'd go like, "Oh, heart. Nothing needs heart. Heart is just boring." And it was like, yeah, the stories, like, they're just not as fun to watch if you don't have some real grounded thing that the people want and the audience can root for. And so moving forward, that's an important element of everything that I do, is to try to inject that into it, at least if I'm, able to, be part of the creative team.
Hi, Will Forte. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I love catching you in your car. And we have just identified that we are actually down the street from each other.
Sorry, no, I have the craziest schedule today. I've been making this show where my mom writes all her own sketches, my 82-year-old mom.
Oh, amazing.
And her 82-year-old friend, and this is our final day, and I just had to be in the car and pull off to do this. I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. I think this is so much more Will Forte
This is life. This is a slice of life, right?
Yeah, I would expect. I'm like happier that it's this way, because this is so much like, yeah, this is the vibe I get from the absurdist side of Will Forte. Do we know what the show's called? Are we able to, did you announce it already?
I think it would just be called Will Forte's Mom Has a Sketch Show.
Okay.
We got to cut them all together and then see if anybody wants to buy them. So they're two magical ladies. So it has been really fun doing it. At the very least, it was a good chance to do something real special with my mom for a month.
That's really cool, because I was hearing recently about how your mom, in the process of you working on MacGruber, how she lost a couple of friends because of you being in MacGruber, and her support has been so unconditional for you that it's exciting to wrap it around like full circle, to actually have a project you're making now with your mom. I think there's something really beautiful about that.
Well, the funniest thing about the MacGruber thing, she did lose some friends from it, but she brought two friends to the set when I was doing that celery scene. Mm-hmm. Those weren't the friends she lost. Like those ones stuck by her. Those are true friends. She had said, "Hey, me and my friends, we want to come by and see you today, and then we want to go to Santa Fe." And I'm like, "Well, why don't you go to Santa Fe first and then come by after?" And she's like, "No, works better for our schedule." So.
One of my random questions, actually, but before I go into my questions for you. I was reflecting. Do you mind if I have the floor for just a little bit to ramble? Because then it's obviously going to be you mainly talking.
I'm a rambler myself, so I love it. Please.
Well, thank you. As I was getting in tune with my feelings on the car ride over here, and I've been finding myself excited to speak with you in a way I hadn't quite ever been to speak with anybody before, because a few weeks ago, Gabby, the publicist who arranged this, who I've known for a while, she's amazing. She reached out to have a sit down with you, and I took like a day to respond, because at the time, a few weeks ago, I was like, I've actually missed out on so much of Will Forte's work. I don't know if I'll be of much value to him. I don't know if it'll be like a waste of his time. And at the time of actually getting that message, I was out in Colorado. And I randomly put on 4 Seasons, not knowing you were actually in the show. I was like, oh, Tina Fey, Steve Carell, cool, they're reunited. That'll be awesome. And I meant, the reason when I started my perspective of like, oh, I think I want to do this, is because you quickly became my favorite character on that show, because you were undoubtedly the one I related to with the most. There's even this line in the last episode that I replay in my head constantly, where someone insults you and you go, "That was hurtful and accurate." And I just keep repeating that so much. I'm like, what a perfect line. And within like starting off and doing quote unquote research, it instantly stopped feeling like research. It started becoming genuine escapism and joy. I found myself listening to interviews and podcasts nonstop because I wanted to. I was itching to get home from work so I could eat dinner and continue Last Man on Earth. was like, oh, I really want to carve out time and I want to watch Nebraska, which I really enjoyed. And then I started your SNL sketches much later on. And at one point this week, it looked like this interview might not happen. And I kept telling Gabby, like, hey, it's okay. Because in the past 3 weeks, it's never happened to me before. I become like a genuine super fan. And having this little journey through your work, it's become like a truly rewarding escapism experience. And I was like, even if I don't talk with you, I'm still going to continue consuming so much of what you do. So
I think you officially, I have to invite you to speak at my funeral. That was so nice. Wow. That I really appreciate that. That's very, very nice of you to say. And 4 seasons, that's one of the reasons this week is so crazy, because I am finishing off this. We decided very last minute, I've wanted to do this show that I was just telling you about with my mom for 2 decades, and we just jammed it in. So I'm like now scrambling to get everything together to go back to 4 seasons, which I'm very excited about. And yeah, that really resonates with me too, because there's a lot of stuff that's very close to home with that character. But it's interesting. Tina's such a good writer, and Lang and Tracy, that whole writing staff is amazing, and they find a way to make every character very relatable. There are little bits and pieces of each character and each relationship that I've found so relatable. So it's really fun to be a part of that show.
Well, we're here because Haunted Hotel's coming out, and I finished. I didn't get the final episode, but I got up to the penultimate. That's an animated show that is 100% my cup of tea, and each episode just gets better than the last. I really enjoyed it, and in that show, Nathan, he starts off as this uncle, and he quickly becomes more of a father figure. And in 4 seasons, you also play a father. And is playing roles like this different for you now than it was before you became a dad? Because you're recently a father in the last 5 years. Do you think fatherhood has influenced your performances, even in doing voice acting for Haunted Hotel?
Undoubtedly, they're always in the back of my mind. Your total life experience changes as you get older, obviously, and I feel like as an actor or as anybody, doing anything in life, you are constantly using everything, just all of your knowledge in everything you do. You're making your decision-making changes. For sure, I'm a different person, and it is reflected in work that I do. I think, even sometimes on just like a subliminal level. It certainly hasn't changed the choices I make. I would still love to do a MacGruber, even though, there's no way I could ever show up. But I do get really excited about my kids being able to. This Haunted Hotel might be a little scary for them at this point. But like Coyote versus Acme, I'm so excited for them to see that, and they'll watch Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs 1 and 2, which I get to be in, and that's really fun to get to share that with them, and Thelma the Unicorn. But man, this show, Haunted Hotel, is such a joy to be a part of. It's very, very funny. It's scary and gory, fun and scary. And it's also like the relationships. There's some kind of meaty, emotional stuff that's not like, it doesn't go too over the top, but like it really feels earned and grounded, and it's I don't know. They're just such good writers. It's really fun to be a part of this.
Yeah, the show becomes more human. But I remember by like the penultimate, there's this reveal I won't give away about your character. And I was by myself in the living room at night going, oh, my God. Like, I was kind of surprised that this show that started off as just like a really quirky thing became incredibly real all of a sudden in a way that was very existential and reflective.
When we read that episode, I know exactly what you're talking about. That just was new to me also. So I was pretty blown away by that. That was wasn't expecting that, but it seemed to fit right in with the show, and didn't go like, wait, how are they doing this kind of thing in this show that's so funny and scary. it seems to fit right in. It's a real testament to the writers.
Yeah, it's a great hodgepodge of a bunch of things. I think the show blends a lot of like family, horror, comedy, ghosts, like everything that you were saying.
Yeah.
And
they almost called it Hodgepodge Hotel. Yeah.
I could actually see that. And it's a perfect time for it to come out because obviously Halloween's around the corner. And I've heard you like mention that Jaws is one of your favorite movies, which I consider a horror movie. And it got me really curious. What kind of horror actually gets under your skin? Like, do you remember the first kind of horror movies that truly terrified you?
I mean, there is so many great ones. I was born in 1970. So like, for me, it was all like Friday the 13th and Halloween and all that stuff. But the stuff that really terrified me the most growing up in a Catholic family was like the stuff like the Omen, which had a religious aspect, which are like, oh, all these ghosts and demons. I know they're kind of fake, but like, evil spirits are out, that stuff was like, oh, this could happen.
I appreciate you saying that because so many people I talk to that are telling me like, yeah, it was more of if it's something that could happen in real life. But I too grew up very Catholic in a Catholic household. And so, yeah, the supernatural stuff is actually the things that really terrified me. So that's why I get kind of a big kick out of
Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
Exorcist.
Yeah. That was satanic to watch that in Catholic school. Was like very anti. And in this show, you play a ghost. And you've had ghosts pop up in other work, even in that famous moment in MacGruber. And what is like your personal take on ghosts in real life? Like, do you believe they exist? I've even heard you mention sometimes like envying people with strong religious certainty and thinking a lot about death and the unknown. How has your beliefs in all this sort of evolved?
It's constantly in flux. I'm old enough to the point. I think a lot of people when they get older, they close their minds down. Mine is kind of going the other way and opening up, and I'm realizing like the more I know, the less I know. Like anything's possible out there. What is the meaning of life? What's it all about? I'm even open to the freaking Matrix idea. Like maybe it is all a simulation. I don't know. Nobody knows. We'll never know until we're kind of through it, and we'll see what it's all about. I mean, and maybe even then we'll never know. Maybe it's you just like everything goes black and that's it. Maybe lights out and forever. But I'd love to think of the idea that there's something else out there and you're reunited with all your loved ones. That's the thing that makes me really sad is thinking about like, oh, what if I never see my kids and my wife again, or mom and dad? And thanks a lot for bringing the room down,
this is
man.
how I wanted
guess
to start
my
your morning.
but you led me right into it.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because I think so much of your work, even to an extent, even like participating in Haunted Hotel, but more specifically the stuff where you're more behind the scenes on, I think there's this unique level of depth that you have. And that's why I found myself compelled to ask more like depth questions, because so many of your characters like Phil in Last Man on Earth, even certain sketches, a lot of them are like hilarious, but there's this element of loneliness, insecurity, and searching, and this like need for connection that a lot of these characters have. Do you think your comedy comes, I guess I'm going to try to ask, does it come more from a place of pain, or does it come from like a joy of trying to cure it? And do you think playing those kinds of characters is part of why you have connected so strongly with audiences?
Wow, that's a really interesting question. Just to start, I find it very interesting putting people in positions, putting characters in emotional situations. I think great comedy comes from seeing them play against the tension. So I always like that stuff, and so sometimes it lends naturally to putting them in precarious emotional positions too. So, and I don't know, that would be for my wife and my therapist if I had one to discuss, like, it does that come from me, and a well of pain inside me. I'm certainly a weirdo, but I am pretty happy in my life. So yeah, certainly I will go to different areas that do touch personal things, and but some of it is just made up stuff, and how I think I would react to that. I don't know, or how I think the character would react, but I would say that almost certainly, even the most absurd characters that I've played have a lot of elements that are very close to home, and I feel comfortable doing some of that stuff, because it's like, oh, I kind of, I'm okay to do some kind of thing that might seem off, because I feel like I own it to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably would need a while to think through that question, because that's a biggie.
Yeah. You were talking about, I appreciate, I mean, the honest, you always strike me as like someone who's consistently sincere and honest in any discussion you're having. So
I'm trying, I try.
Thank you. And you were talking about the freedom with characters, and I found your acting journey to be very fascinating, from Groundlings to SNL to comedy movies. And then you had this turning point with Nebraska, where you're working with Bruce Dern and Alexander Payne, and it seemed to reshape how you viewed acting. And I feel like I was really fortunate to find myself diving in starting from 4 seasons, because I feel like that's a great marriage of like a dramedy of like the drama of Will Forte and the comedy of Will Forte. How would you say your approach to crafting a character is different now compared to when you were first starting out on SNL? Do you feel like your approach is different, and does your writing background influence more so how you do characters now?
Yes, everything. I think it's changed significantly. I used to just be all about absurdity, and I still love that. And but look, I got really, really lucky. I was a writer and loved being a writer, and then got the chance to be at SNL. And when I was coming to the end of SNL, I'm not being hard on myself, but there was no reason to think that I would ever get an acting job after SNL. Like I think people, I had a couple of characters that I was proud of, and MacGruber being one of them, and certainly I was not like a slouch there, but you could just feel it. There was like, I wasn't. Casting agents didn't really ask around about me, and the thing when I left SNL, it wasn't because I thought, oh, I got a real opportunity to seize on this acting momentum. I mean, I left after MacGruber was bombing, and my agents had said, look, you're gonna have to leave at some point. Your profile is not going to change much from staying at SNL for another year. The thing you would most want to get by staying another year would be if they let you do an SNL movie. And like, they're not going to, after MacGruber, what happened with MacGruber, they're not going to do that. So at some point you're going to have to leave, and it's going to be a real crapshoot. And we think it now is probably the right time. And it made sense at the time. So I left there just thinking, okay, well, let's see what happens. But I loved writing before going to SNL. So I thought, if nothing happens with acting, I'll just go back to writing. And for like a year and a half, I didn't get any work. I was just sitting around. And then always got to be thankful to Adam Sandler and Andy Samberg, who asked me to be in That's My Boy.
That I love that movie. I love
it
so much.
I mean, it was such a fun experience, but like it was psychologically a very important thing that was like, oh, somebody wanted me to be in something. And and then Akiva brought me in to do the Watch. And so slowly the plan was, which was like, okay, try to get some supporting roles in comedy movies, and then see if you can somehow work your way back up to try to get some bigger role. And then somehow out of nowhere, this Nebraska opportunity came, and that really changed everything. That was a real life changer. I mean, to have like one of the main roles in a movie that was definitely a comedy, but very, very grounded and a lot of dramatic elements. That was just like terrifying, and I was super proud of it, but it was, I don't know, that also, this is a very long way of coming back to answer your question. That started me thinking like, oh, there are elements that I still need to work on, but like I enjoyed playing a more grounded character, and it was, and I felt like I did a serviceable job doing kind of more dramatic acting. And right before that, there was a tiny movie that I got to make in Ireland that was full drama called Run and Jump. And so those two things together made me realize, oh, there's something really fun in this grounded stuff too. So when Last Man on Earth came, it was a real opportunity. I had in my head like, oh, I love this absurd stuff, and the premise was so absurd, but we really wanted to handle this absurd premise in a grounded way. So I'm like, oh, I can kind of merge these two things together, and that's kind of moving forward. That's been kind of the fun thing, because the Last Man on Earth really taught me. I used to go like, people would say, oh, it needs to have heart, and you'd go like, oh, heart, nothing needs heart. Heart is just boring. And it was like, yeah, the stories, like, they're just not as fun to watch if you don't have some real grounded thing that the people want and the audience can root for. And so moving forward, that's an important element of everything that I do, is to try to have, to try to inject that into it, at least if I'm, able to, be part of the creative team. I mean, Four Seasons, that stuff is there anyway, and I have nothing to do with that, on a writing level, but like, that's why I love doing it. It's so fun because it's, I mean, it's being written by the best in the biz, it's those guys are amazing. But that's a very long way of answering. I didn't even forget the question now, but I think I kind of answered.
I think you answered it. No, I definitely think I feel like I could clip that, and that would be like, this is Will Forte today. This is, yeah. If you wanted to understand his journey, this is what it is right now. If you wanted to hop into his journey. Look,
it's very interesting when you bring that up, and I kind of trace back and remember how scared I was in 2010, 2011, and just thinking back to all these experiences. Like Saturday Night Live, that was my dream. That's my dream job. I got to do my two dream jobs. I got to work at Letterman as a writer, and I got to be a part of SNL. And it was like, then all these other things that I've gotten to do are just a ton of gravy. I just am the luckiest dude. Not that I haven't worked hard. I've worked very hard. I'm a hard worker, but like, there's so much luck in it too, and I just got really lucky, and I'm very blessed.
I feel like we're all blessed with your work these days.
I hope I live for a long time, but you stay healthy too, so you can outlast me. And I really want you to speak at my funeral. Say all very nice things that you're saying.
Yeah, it feels surreal now being here with you, and I know I only got like a couple more minutes. You are one of those people where I have like a billion questions. I'm just, whatever's popping in mind that I wrote down, I'm just gonna go with whatever that's coming to mind.
You know what? Let's. I'm sure something else. I'll be having to talk about something else. So like, would love to come back on when that happens. I know at the very least, Coyote versus Acme comes out next August, or I got to be in this Nate Bargatze movie, which I think is March 13th. So maybe I can talk to you then too.
I would love to.
We can dive deeper.
I would love to. I mean, if I could just squeeze one more question in with you, since you're going to go meet back up with your mom. One question I wanted to ask is that you have 2 daughters now, and you're clearly someone who loves movies and television. I feel like that's very reflective in a lot of your work. Even MacGruber's definitely like an homage to a bunch of different films. Yeah. And I'm curious to know, when with your parents having very different backgrounds, but you very influenced by cinema and TV, what's a movie or show that you shared a bond with your parents over? One that when you watch it, you immediately think of them. And what's a movie that you are excited to share with your children?
Well, definitely I'm very excited to share Coyote versus Acme, because I think when they watch me in an animated show, I don't think they fully get it. And they've seen me in acting things, but I think they still don't fully get it. So but mainly the things they've seen me in are animated things, and they'll just hear my voice, and I'm not even sure if they know that it's my voice. They know that it's somebody who sounds like me, and maybe they just think, oh, that person sounds like Daddy. But to have them see that movie where they'll have all that exciting, fun, animated stuff, but then still get to see their dad with their own eyes, I think that will be a really fun thing to get to share with them. And with my family, I did, the thing that leapt to me, and this sounds very dirty because it's a movie that I was in and we talked about it, but Nebraska was a really big deal to share with them, because like they had just seen me doing dirty stuff and super weird, absurd stuff, all the MacGruber stuff. And it's like to get to share something that was like this Oscar nominated movie. It was like, I felt like I restored the family name. they could actually tell their friends, because they're so supportive, and they would tell that was how my mom lost friends. Is she told a couple of them, she told the wrong people to go check out MacGruber, and they were like, "What? Why would you send me to this?" And yeah,
I think that makes it more impactful as opposed to being like, I'm sure you maybe saw this with your family, like Raiders of the Lost Ark or something growing up with your family. Of course, that's like a meaningful shared experience, but to have it be something that you were actual participant of, I think is actually a rather beautiful answer. And by the way, people, you can, like me, you can buy it off Prime Video if you want to watch Nebraska immediately. Go do yourself a favor.
I just very quickly, I've been talking about how life-changing Nebraska was, but I would never have been in that position if not for SNL. So thank you to Lorne Michaels also. And Bonnie and Terry Turner, who brought me over to 70 Show, and Mark Brazil, who was like the 70 Show, the head of the set, the creator of 70 Show, who like let me go and audition for SNL. So it's like so many people to thank, but just wanted to get that in there. Sorry.
No, I'm glad you did. I mean, there's so many things about SNL that I would love to ask, but I know you're so pressed for time right now. I just want to say thank you for making the time in the most Will Forte kind of way to be in the car.
Oh man, well, thank you. I mean it. I would love to come back on. It's been really fun talking to you, and thanks for helping spread the word about Haunted Hotel. I'm super excited. September 19th. It's just tomorrow. I mean,
at the time of this airing, it's already out. It's already out. Go watch it, guys. It's a binge-worthy show. Go watch it. Thank you, Will. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's so nice talking to you. Thanks for all the nice words.
Of course. Take care.